I'm Caden Muncie, and this is my presentation for the research assignment. For my assignment, I researched how our understanding of our solar system has changed, mainly in a view of geocentrism versus heliocentrism. And some of you guys may not know what that is exactly, what the difference between those two things are. So I'll explain them real quickly. Geocentrism was the belief that the sun and all the other planets orbited the Earth. I can see it from this picture here. So the Earth was the center of our solar system, that all the other planets orbited it. And that was very popular for a long time, and I'll explain more on that in a few minutes. But heliocentrism is the idea that the sun is the center of our solar system, and that everything and that all the planets orbit it. So this is what most of us believe to be true now, but that wasn't always the case. This paragraph says heliocentrism wasn't widely believed until recently. There are multiple reasons for that. I'm only going to get into two, but if you'd like to research more reasons why, you could definitely do that. But the first reason is scientific technology. So one invention that really helped solidify the idea of heliocentrism was the telescope. Because back before the invention of the telescope, they couldn't get a good view on all the other planets in our solar system, and they couldn't do that in-depth research like we could do now. And then also Isaac Newton and his work on the law of gravity in physics also played a huge role, because one of the major ideas that solidified geocentrism back then was they said that if you threw a ball into the air, it would land right below where you threw it. So if you threw it straight up, it would just come straight back down. And he said that if the Earth was moving, that when you threw it straight up, it would land in a different spot because the Earth moved below it. And when that obviously didn't happen, they said that the Earth must be staying still. But now that we know more about motion and physics, we obviously see that as ridiculous, but they didn't know that back then. One other thing that probably the bigger reason why geocentrism was so widely believed for so long is because it was backed by the government, and back then the government held all the power, and if you disagreed with the government and tried to fight what they said and taught, then you'd be often imprisoned or even killed. And that was common when people suggested heliocentrism back then. They would be killed. I read an article and said that the first person to suggest heliocentrism was burned at the stake. So, that wasn't good for them. Yeah. So persecution and scientific technology is really what made geocentrism what's the word for it? It's what solidified it as the most logical and safest assumption for anyone back then. But now that we have all of this new understanding of our universe and how gravity, physics, and motions work, we obviously believe in heliocentrism. But that isn't the case for everybody. There's still a group of people, they call themselves modern geocentrics, and that they believe in geocentrism. They've even held conventions and rallies to try to get more people to believe in geocentrism. And it's actually pretty interesting, because I never knew that before. I thought everybody believed that in heliocentrism, because that's just what we were taught since we were kids. But I guess there'll always be rebels, I guess. So the argument of geocentrism versus heliocentrism is one of the biggest in world history, because it's the argument over our entire not just our solar system. Like, the early teachings of geocentrism said that the Earth is the center of the entire universe, not just our solar system. But that was their first thing to go once they got into more understanding, and it took years and years and years before more people started believing heliocentrism, the belief that the sun is the center of our solar system. So before we could get that understanding of how large and expansive the universe is, geocentrism was the reasonable belief. So that's all I had, and here's my works cited for the presentation. Hope you all enjoyed. Thank you.